The jungle was breathing that night. Not whispering, not rustling, breathing. You could almost hear it exhale through the trees, thick and heavy with the smell of rain-soaked earth. Somewhere deep inside that darkness, footsteps crunched softly over wet leaves. A woman was walking alone, clutching a pistol that wasn't loaded. Her name was Riley North. 28. A park ranger by title, a ghost by rumor. The villagers said she had the eyes of someone who had seen too much, and the silence of someone who'd lost more than she could ever tell. But what nobody knew, not even the police, was that Riley wasn't just out there protecting wildlife that night. She was hunting. A week before, 4 armed poachers had escaped into the jungle after killing a rhino and a local tracker who had tried to stop them. The police chased them for 2 days before giving up. "They'll starve or turn on each other," the captain had said. Riley didn't believe that. She knew the forest like the back of her scarred hand, and she knew men like them. They didn't die easily. So she went in alone. It was supposed to be a quick in-and-out operation. The only problem, the pistol at her waist was empty. Not a single bullet. She'd used her last rounds a day earlier to scare off wild dogs near her camp. There was no time to go back for ammo. She told herself it didn't matter. Fear was stronger than any bullet if you knew how to use it. By the time she found their trail, the sun was gone. The moon was a dull coin behind clouds. Riley moved carefully, her flashlight off, her breathing steady. Every sound mattered. The snap of a twig, the shuffle of dirt, the low hum of insects that never seemed to sleep. She found footprints near a stream, 4 sets, pressed deep into the mud. She crouched down, her fingers brushing the wet impressions. They were fresh. "They're close," she whispered. The radio crackled at her belt. "Riley, you need to fall back," said a voice. Officer Diaz, her old partner. "Back up, we'll move in by morning. Don't do anything stupid." Riley clicked the radio off. Diaz didn't understand. He hadn't seen the tracker's body. His face frozen in shock, his eyes open to the sky. She had promised his widow she would find the men who did it. No more waiting. No more backup. The deeper she went, the louder the jungle seemed to breathe. The rain began again, soft at first, then heavier. The kind that makes every movement a whisper. Lightning flashed, lighting up the world in white for half a second. In that blink, she saw smoke rising through the trees. Someone had built a fire. She crept toward it. The camp was small but messy. 3 makeshift tents, a burned-out pot, a dead fire struggling against the rain. She saw movement inside one of the tents, heard muffled voices, laughter, the clink of bottles. Her heart beat hard, but her hands stayed steady. She slid behind a log, close enough to smell the cheap alcohol. Through the crack of fabric, she counted them. 4 men, mud on their boots, blood on their shirts, rifles leaning by the door. The leader, a tall, lean man with a scar running down his cheek, was cleaning his weapon, humming off-key. Riley waited, planning her next move. She couldn't shoot them, she couldn't even fire a warning shot. But she could make them think she could. The storm helped. Every flash of thunder gave her cover to move. She circled the camp, cutting through brush until she reached the other side. Then she kicked over a rusted metal can, letting it clang across the ground. The men jerked up, swearing. "What was that?" one shouted. "Probably an animal," another said, nervous. Lightning cracked again, and Riley stepped into the glow. Her pistol was raised, her face calm, her eyes locked on the leader. "Hands up," she said, her voice steady and low. Nobody moved. For a moment, nobody did. The leader blinked, confused by the sight of a single woman standing in the rain. Then his gaze dropped to the gun in her hand. "Who the hell are you?" he sneered. The one who told you not to come here, she said. The others shifted, unsure. The jungle roared with thunder. Riley took a slow step forward, her boots sinking into the mud. Drop your guns. The leader smirked. Lady, you sure you want to do this? There's 4 of us. She smiled faintly. Then it'll be quick. It wasn't just her words, it was the way she said them. Cold, unblinking, like she'd already decided how this would end. The leader hesitated. He couldn't see the pistol clearly in the flickering light, but it looked real enough. Gabe, one of the men muttered, she ain't bluffing, man. Shut up, Gabe snapped. But his voice wavered. Riley cocked the empty pistol with a sharp click that sliced through the rain. Every man in the camp froze. Last chance, she said. Another flash of lightning. Gabe's eyes darted toward his rifle. He took half a step and stopped when Riley aimed straight between his eyes. Her hand didn't tremble. I said, drop it. One by one, the men obeyed. Metal clattered into the mud. Even Gabe, after a long pause, slowly raised his hands. The tension hung in the air like smoke. None of them spoke. Riley's hair stuck to her face, rain dripping from her chin, but she didn't blink. Turn around, she ordered. On your knees. They did. All 4 of them. Unarmed. Silent. The jungle swallowed the sound of their surrender. She moved closer, keeping the gun trained on them. The fear in their eyes was almost strange, like they weren't afraid of dying, but of the person standing in front of them. And maybe they were right to be. Riley cuffed the leader's hands with zip ties from her belt, then the others, one by one. None resisted. None spoke. When she finally stepped back, her breath came out in a shaky exhale. Her pistol was still pointed at them. Though she knew if any of them guessed the truth, she'd be dead before she blinked. Who are you working for? She asked. No one answered. The rain fell harder. She turned toward Gabe. You killed the tracker, didn't you? He sneered. He got in the way. Riley's jaw clenched. So did I. Gabe's eyes narrowed. But before he could speak again, there was a sharp sound from the trees. A twig snapping. Riley's instincts screamed. She spun around, gun raised, but saw nothing through the rain. Who's there? She called. Silence. The jungle went still. Even the frogs had stopped croaking. Then another snap. Closer this time. She glanced at the 4 men, all kneeling, their faces turning pale. Gabe's voice was low and shaky. It's not just us out here. Riley's stomach dropped, and then she saw it. 2 glowing eyes in the dark, just beyond the trees, unmoving, watching. The glowing eyes didn't blink. They hovered in the dark like twin coals, low to the ground, steady. Riley kept her pistol aimed at the shadows, but her heartbeat had gone wild. The rain hissed around them, but everything else was frozen. The 4 men knelt behind her, suddenly quiet, their earlier bravado gone. Then came the growl, low, guttural, and deep enough to shake the air. Panther, one of the men whispered. Riley didn't move. She knew the sound. It wasn't a panther. It was heavier, deeper. Maybe a jaguar that had wandered from the other side of the reserve. Maybe worse. She stepped back slowly, keeping the gun up. Don't move, she hissed. Lady, Gabe muttered. Whatever that is, it's... I said don't move. The creature stepped out of the brush. Massive. Black fur slick with rain. Eyes glinting gold in the lightning. Its paws pressed the mud silently, muscles rippling beneath its skin. Riley's breath caught. She'd seen predators before, but never this close. The beast sniffed the air, then turned its head toward the 4 kneeling men. One flinched. That was enough. The animal snarled and lunged forward, a blur of darkness. Riley fired. The empty gun clicked, uselessly. She didn't even hesitate. She screamed and waved it, shouting at the top of her lungs, running straight toward the creature. The sudden noise, the wild movement, it startled the animal just enough. It halted, growled once more, and slipped back into the jungle, vanishing between the trees. Rain poured harder now. Riley's hands shook as she lowered the pistol. The men were staring at her like she'd gone insane. Maybe she had. Gabe started, but Riley turned on him so fast he shut up. "Get up," she said. "We're moving." They didn't argue. Fear of the jungle or of her kept them obedient. She marched them through the trees, one behind the other, the storm hammering around them. Every crack of thunder made them jump. Every shadow looked like those golden eyes. Hours passed. The night stretched forever. Riley's clothes clung to her like a second skin, and exhaustion clawed at her bones, but she kept going. She had to get them out before sunrise. The jungle could swallow people whole by daylight. Gabe stumbled over a root and cursed. "Where the hell are you taking us?" "To the ranger station," Riley said. He laughed bitterly. "You think you'll make it that far?" She stopped and turned, even drenched and pale. Her stare cut through him. "Do you want to test me?" He didn't reply. They walked on. The jungle began to thin, but the rain wasn't letting up. Somewhere behind them, a branch cracked. Riley spun again. Nothing. Just trees swaying. "Keep moving," she said. But her gut told her something was off. The silence wasn't right. It was too careful. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a flash of movement, human, not animal. Someone ducking behind a tree trunk. She dropped to a crouch. "Down," she hissed. A gunshot split the air. Bark exploded near her head. Riley hit the ground, mud splashing over her face. Another shot, closer this time. She dragged herself behind a fallen log, her prisoners hitting the ground with terrified yells. "Who's shooting?" Gabe screamed. "Not me," Riley shouted back. "Stay down." She peeked up long enough to see a shadow running through the trees, armed, fast, and moving toward them. Maybe one of the poachers' partners, maybe someone worse. Her heart pounded. She had no bullets, no backup, and 4 criminals who'd happily leave her behind. She needed a plan. When the next gunshot came, she acted. She snatched Gabe's dropped rifle from the mud, rolled behind another log, and aimed it blindly into the dark. The figure paused. Riley yelled, "I'll shoot." The forest went silent again. Seconds stretched. Then came a voice, rough, low, and mocking. "You think I don't know you're bluffing, Ranger?" Her stomach sank. Whoever it was, they knew her. She squinted into the rain, but the voice bounced between the trees, impossible to track. "Come out," she shouted. "Show yourself." Laughter echoed. "You're brave, Riley. Always were. Heard you've been hunting ghosts?" She froze. That voice, she knew it. "Mason?" she whispered. A figure stepped out of the trees. Tall, broad-shouldered, a rifle slung over his chest. Lightning flashed, and there he was, Mason Heller, her old commanding officer from the Ranger Task Force. But his badge was gone, and the look in his eyes wasn't friendly. "Didn't think I'd see you again," he said. Riley rose slowly, the fake rifle still aimed. "You're working with them," he smirked. "Someone has to pay the bills. The ivory trade's better money than saving rhinos." Her throat went dry. "You killed the tracker," he shrugged. "Collateral." The rage that burned through her almost drowned the fear. "You're done, Mason. All of you." Mason's smirk widened. "You sure about that? You're holding an empty gun." Her stomach twisted. He stepped closer, confident. "I trained you, Riley. You think I can't tell?" Behind her, Gabe and his men were frozen, realizing they'd been outplayed by both sides. Mason's finger tightened on his trigger. Riley had seconds. She dropped the rifle and raised her hands slowly. "You're right," she said softly. It's empty. He laughed once. Smart girl. Then she moved. Fast. She kicked up a wave of mud with her boot, blinding him for a split second, and dove sideways. His shot went wide, shattering a branch. Before he could fire again, she lunged forward, slammed into him, and the rifle flew from his hands. They hit the ground, struggling. Mason was stronger, but Riley fought like she had nothing left to lose. She grabbed a rock, swung it, caught him across the temple. He groaned and rolled. Dazed, she scrambled up, grabbed his rifle, and aimed. Her hands trembled, not from fear but fury. Mason blinked through the blood on his face. Go ahead, he rasped. You're not a killer. The rain hammered around them. Riley's finger hovered over the trigger. He was right. She wasn't a killer, but she wasn't helpless either. She fired into the ground beside him. The dirt exploded, inches from his hand. Next one goes through your leg, she said. Mason froze. Behind her, Gabe and his men stood silent, eyes wide. They believed now. Every ounce of doubt was gone. Riley turned the gun on them next. You move, she said coldly, and I'll forget which one of you surrendered. No one moved. Not a breath. By dawn, she had all 5 of them tied together with rope, limping through the mud toward the ranger outpost. The storm had finally broken. Mist clung to the trees, and the first light of morning spilled through like a promise. Diaz and his team met her halfway down the trail. Their jaws dropped at the sight. Riley, Jesus. How did you... She handed him the rifle. 5 suspects. 1 ex-officer. No casualties. He stared. You went in with no backup. She just nodded. And no bullets? He asked quietly. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Didn't need them. As the team cuffed the men and led them away, Riley finally sat down on a rock, letting the exhaustion hit her like a wave. The jungle was quiet again. Birds were starting to sing. She looked at her pistol, mud-streaked and useless, and laughed under her breath. Power wasn't always in the weapon. It was in the person holding it. The wind moved through the trees, gentle now, like the jungle itself was exhaling in relief. Riley stood, watching as the sun rose over the wet horizon. Somewhere deep inside, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: peace. Sometimes courage isn't about having the means to fight. It's about standing your ground when everything says you shouldn't. And sometimes the strongest weapon in the world is simply not showing your fear.